You are welcome. I welcome you to the channel, Messiah Revelation Ministry and Time Prophetic Channel dedicated to preparing the world for the arrival of the Messiah. Daniel talked about that time. It will be a time when all the kingdoms in this world will be toppled and only one kingdom will reign. That's the kingdom of the Messiah. And so you can see the signs of the time prophesied by Daniel. And when you see the signs of the time, then you will not be shocked. And so August 27, 2013, it was the day when I had a revelation that the final trumpet of heaven has sounded. I was surprised. How can the world end so soon? I thought the scientists talk about millions of years ago when the world was created by their God, small g, and the world is supposed to last for a long time. So how come the final trumpet of heaven has sounded? We're talking about 2013, but so many things are happening rapidly. Now I understand. I understand that kingdoms in this world will fall, and I understand that it includes America. And I understand why and how the kingdom of America will fall. And I understand that even at the time of making this video, America doesn't have military supremacy any longer in the world. I understand that at the time of making this video, there is nuclear tension in the world, and there's nuclear escalation in the world. And America is not finding it easy, because there are counter-military nations who are nuclear powered and putting America in check. And that is PAX Americana, the end of American hegemony. And there are so many paths to the end of the kingdom of this world. It could be by military means, it could be economic, and it could also be social. And we are focusing on the economic aspect, the decline of America, and we are looking at de-dollarization, the movement away from the US dollar as a preferred currency. It came as a matter of diplomatic design. The Second World War provided opportunity for the victors in the war to arrange the world around themselves. So as the leading nation that benefited from the global power structures or transformation after the Second World War, America engineered diplomatically to allow the dollar to be the currency of preference in order to maintain economic hegemony. And he who controls the global economy controls the world. But today, as we are talking, American economic hegemony is in decline, and the handwritings are on the wall as people are talking about de-dollarization of their economies. Get rid of the dollar. And Putin made a major move, and the move to seize American assets in Russia. We're talking about whether you are talking about stocks, talking about real estate, talking about any other assets. Russia sees it. It's a major blow. It's a major blow because it hurts the American economy. In the same way that America seizing Russian assets or freezing Russian assets hurt the Russian economy. But for Putin to make that bold move, it means that Putin has an agenda, he has an alternative. And you see the alternative. You see counter-hegemony measures being taken by other nations in the world in the form of BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, and many other nations forming economic bloc. I'll call it a counter-hegemony bloc. And you see nations, Iran and Turkey, Muslim nations, they are moving to join that alliance. And you see Gulf-rich nations also moving away to join BRICS and reduce their influence on the American dollar. The move away from the American dollar started a long time ago. Gaddafi talked about it. Gaddafi wanted the African nations to come together to form an economic bloc with one currency, not based upon the dollar, but based upon gold, based upon anything but the dollar. It was a threat to the global economic hegemony of the United States. And you know what happened to Gaddafi 2011. He was deleted because his actions was a threat to the dollar hegemony, and that was initiated by the United States. In order to control the global economy, international economic institutions were arranged. And there was a custom, a convention. The convention was that the World Bank will always be headed by an American, and the International Monetary Fund will be headed by European. That was the convention for a long time. And they also had an exclusive economic club, the G7 nations. And of course, we had an economic bloc, the European Union, that cemented the economic ties between America and the Western powers, all in the name of controlling the global economy. And so when you see BRICS coming out, it's a counter-hegemony economic bloc that works against the interests of the dollar hegemony. And when you also hear that Putin is seizing the assets of America in Russia, it's also a threat to the dollar hegemony. But what is even more dramatic is the fact that there was an arrangement between America and Saudi Arabia regarding the use of the dollar in oil trade. An arrangement that gave rise to a petrodollar system. And that arrangement was for 50 years, and reports are coming that the arrangement is now ended. It has ended, and Saudi Arabia will not renew the agreement. What does it mean? It means that Saudi Arabia, that use a vast oil economy to support the dollar hegemony, is no longer going to follow America. And Saudi Arabia is moving away from the dollar, moving closer to BRICS, moving away from the dollar hegemony. It comes with a cost, because in exchange for supporting the dollar hegemony through the petrodollar system, America gave a lot of military support to Saudi Arabia. And not only that, America also stabilized the Saudi Arabia government. And so when America was talking about democracy in Black Africa, America did not talk about democracy in Saudi Arabia. And when America was talking about human rights violation in Latin America, in Africa, America did not talk about human rights violation in Saudi Arabia. And so Saudi Arabia was gaining politically, but economically, I believe Saudi was losing. Probably Saudi realized that it's time to protect their sovereignty as an oil-producing country. And no longer would they support the petrodollar economic architecture. And so if there's no petrodollar, what is the dollar? What is going to happen to the dollar? What will be the effect on the dollar? What will be the effect on Americans' economy? We're talking about de-dollarization, and we can also look at de-dollarization in another dimension. We're talking about France, one of the powers that partitioned Africa, notorious for exploitation of black countries, notorious for exploitation of Haiti, notorious for the exploitation of the African nations. France engineered a system, a neo-colonial system, where the African nations will have flag independence, but not economic independence. When I say flag independence, I'm talking about a day in a year where the flag of France will be lowered in the African capital city, whether you are talking about Bamako or Ouagadougou or Conakry or Kinshasa, and the flag of the African nation will be hoisted. And that's all that it means. It's a flag independence, the opportunity for the black nation to have their own national flag, not the flag of France. Even after independence, France controlled the economies of the African countries. And when Guinea under Sékou Touré had the audacity to move away from French neocolonialism, the French took everything away from Guinea, including typewriters. At that time, they were not using computers, they were using typewriters. Typewriters were taken away from Guinea to punish Guinea for asking for economic independence from France. As we are looking at de-dollarization on the American side, we also see movement by African countries. The new regimes in Africa, they call them regimes. They are moving away from France. They are moving away from the French franc, the CFA, a special currency that was initiated by France, so that France will tie the economies of Africa to to France and to Europe. And so economic hegemony is being challenged on the American side, and it's also being challenged on the French European side. And on the global scale, you see BRICS coming up, of course, maneuvering to overtake America and outmaneuver America and to de-dollarize the global economy. The question we ask is, how then will America be a global superpower without economic power? Of course, America has military bases over the world, more military bases than any other nation in the world, around 800 military bases. And America has intervened in almost every nation on earth militarily. But we are living in a world where kingdoms on the earth are falling, and America can no longer rely on her military supremacy. America has nuclear weapons, but nuclear weapons is a non-usable power. When was the first time nuclear weapons were used, and when was the last time nuclear weapons were used? They were used by America for the first time, and of course the last time. So nuclear power or nuclear weapons is a non-usable power, and America cannot use a nuclear hegemony to dominate the world economically and politically. At the time of speaking here, of course, we know Russia has more nuclear weapons than America has more tactical nuclear weapons than America. And France and Britain are nowhere when we're talking about nuclear arsenals compared to Russia. And so the leader that wants to lead the world has to be economically strong, because ultimately it's the economic power that will give that nation control over the global economy, and that will give that country influence in the global economy. But when the economic power is being destroyed, then the nation will not have any power, and the nation will be desperate, and the nation will be doing all things possible to go to war to revive the economy. Because war and economic revival are twins. They are two sides of the same coin. And so the alternative for America would be to instigate a global war, thinking that the war will revive America's economy. But economically, we see America, the handwriting of economic decline is on the wall, as Russia is leading the world. Russia and China leading the world in creating an alternative counter-hegemony bloc with the intention to create a new world order that will revolve not around Washington but around Moscow and China. And this is the world that we see going on. And we see that PAX Americana is on the wall. Whether you're talking about it from a sociological point of view or from an economic point of view. After all, the big power, Rome fell, and at the time Rome was falling, it was morally bankrupt, moral decay. And Rome could not even get her citizens to fight for her in war, and had to rely on mercenaries to fight wars for Rome. And of course, we see moral decay in America with the advent of the alphabet culture. that has destroyed the moral fabric, the family values of America, Republican values, conservative values, Christian values. They are all being destroyed, and that is one aspect of the destruction. Of course, the destruction is coming from internal sources and also outside sources. And there was a time ago that a leader in Cuba thought he would destroy America on his own, and that was Fidel Castro. And Fidel Castro said that he would destroy America, and the way to destroy America is to export narcotics to America. And narcotics will be used, and the young men, young women in America, and they will be destroyed. And so Castro was using the strategy we call structural violence, a theory developed by Johann Gatun. You don't kill people with guns. You allow them to kill themselves. And so drugs were used to destroy America internally. And that was what Castro was doing. But now you see, internally, America is being destroyed. Americans are destroying themselves with alphabet culture, moral depravity. And the Lord said in the book of Romans 1, verse 25 and 26, and the Lord gave them up to their reprobate mind. And so when a power is declining, you look at a social fabric and you can tell whether that power is great or is going to be great again. Of course, Trump will make America great again. And that is the mentality of Babylon, the mentality of invisibility, too big to fall. But we see the de-dollarization, and we see the economic fall of America. And it's all pointing to Bible prophecy, that the kingdoms of this world will fall. There's only one kingdom that will remain, and it will remain eternally. It's the kingdom of the Messiah. And as America is falling economically, as we see de-dollarization on the rise, then you need to prepare. You need to prepare for the kingdom that is coming, is the kingdom of the Messiah. And you prepare for a supper that is coming. And the supper is the great supper of the Lord. And we read about it from the book of Revelation. Revelation chapter 19, verse 9. Revelation of the Lord, our Messiah, given to Apostle John. Revelation 19, verse 9. And he said unto me, write, blessed are they which are called unto the marriage supper of the Lamb. Blessed are those who are called unto the marriage supper of the Lamb. It is a banquet, a royal banquet is coming. The Messiah's kingdom is coming, and there's going to be a royal banquet. The mainstream media will not talk about it because they believe that God is dead. But they have not realized that the prophecies of the Lord who lives forever are manifesting. And they pretend that they don't see it. They pretend they don't see the decline of America. They pretend they don't see the de-dollarization of America. They pretend that they have not seen the handwriting on the wall, the proverbial handwriting on the wall, and that is the fall of Babylon as decreed by God through his prophets. The admonition to you is the admonition of the angel of God in Revelation 18, verse 4. Come out of her, my people, so that you do not partake of her plagues. You do not receive the plagues that are intended for Babylon. De-dollarization is coming, and you need to draw a diagram to analyze the consequences of de-dollarization on inflation in America, on housing in America, on pension systems in America, on American trade, on Americans' convenience living, comfortability, living in a comfort zone, thinking that all that glitters is gold. But it's not. All that glitters is not gold. America is living on borrowed times. America was lucky. It was a nation that developed. Its development was based upon free labor. America had free labor. Free, forced labor, coerced labor, people working under involuntary servitude that resulted in the industrialization of America. But there's a decree in Genesis 15:13 to 14 that there's a nation that will harbor the children of God for a time, and then after that time, I don't know whether it's 400 years, I don't know whether it is 4 years or 4 decades or 4 centuries, but the time will come and the judgment will start kicking in, and there will be a switch, a change, and there will be a change in destiny. And the destiny of America in the end times is a destiny of misery, and you need to prepare for that. But if I were you, I'll prepare for the kingdom of the Messiah that is coming. And because the kingdom of the Messiah is coming, you see that the kingdoms of this world, they are shaking, they are falling, and they are desperate. America will be desperate to revive her economy and to dollarize the global economy, even when there's de-dollarization. And of course, war is not ruled out. War to revive the American economy. But unfortunately, America will learn a lesson that when the law speaks, nobody can change what the law says. And what the Lord has spoken will come true. It is decreed that all nations in the world will fall and the kingdom of the Messiah will reign. Prepare for the kingdom of the Messiah that is coming. Repent and come out of her, my people, and don't be deceived by Babylon mentality. The mentality that Babylon is too big to fall. Militarily, it is not too big to fall. Economically, it is not too big to fall. Morally, it has fallen already, and it is not too big to fall. Fall and fall. Thank you for watching this video.